tonight. Federal government direct closure of national borders. INEC urged Nigerians without the PVC to stay away from the polling units tomorrow. Governor Adeleke charges eligible voters to conduct themselves peacefully at polls. On the foreign scene, opposition party boycotts parliamentary election in Djibouti. Good evening, welcome to the major report. Babatunde Bolatito is my name. Ahead of tomorrow's presidential election, the federal government has directed that all national borders across the country be shut. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Arebeshola, said the directive was given to prevent external forces from accessing the country to truncate the electoral activities. According to a statement by his media advisor, Shola Fashure, the minister said internal movement have been restricted to the polling units, adding that there will also be no movement of persons across national borders. Arebeshola also enjoined registered voters in the country to come out tomorrow to exercise their franchise, promising a safe and secure environment before, during, and after the elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission has advised Nigerians without permanent voter cards to stay away from polling units on the election day. INEC National Commissioner Festus Okoye conveyed the Commission's warning while receiving his facilities from Community Life Project and Ford Foundation in support of the INEC Citizens Contact Center in Abuja. Okoye, who is the Commission's chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, said no other means of identification will be used on election day other than the PVC. Okoye stressed that INEC remained committed to the use of bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS for voters' accreditation and uploading of election results to its result viewing portal. The INEC National Commissioner reminded the media, election observer groups, and fellow citizens that it is only INEC that has the legal right to announce election results. Nigeria's police has assured voters of adequate security before, during, and after the election. The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 11, AIG Sikiru Akonde, gave the assurance in an interview with Osbc News in Oshobo, and joined voters to go out and exercise their civic responsibilities without fears. Our reporter, Oluchi Abuda, has the details.
The police is one of the major critical stakeholders in the electoral process, saddled with the responsibility of maintaining law and order, as well as ensuring that peace reigns before, during, and after the elections. The police, which have consistently synergized with 6-star agencies, have admonished the electorate to go out and vote candidates of their choice, with the promise that all security agencies in Nigeria are committed towards the protection of lives and property of the people. Speaking with Osbc News on the preparedness of the police towards maintaining law and order, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 11, which comprises Osun and Oyo States, AIG Sikiru Akonde, stated that the security operatives are working in synergy to ensure the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to leave a legacy of enthroning a leader that is elected through a free, fair, and credible election is achieved.
We in Zone 11, Oshobo, that is commanding and supervising activities of police security activities in both Osun and Oyo. We have done what is needed of us. 1, assess threat issues. 2, draw up an effective operational plan. 3, execution of those operational plans. The stage in which we are is to execute those operational plans that we have. Men have been deployed to the nooks and crannies of the 2 states. The supervisory teams are on ground. 3, we have deployed technology to manage this election. So when you don't see men physically, know that there's machines monitoring every action of every person.
The AIG, who admonished voters in Osun State to be law-abiding and not be cowed by activities of cultists recorded in some parts of the state, recently added that the police have put all necessary machineries in motion to ensure that Osun and Oyo states remain peaceful.
By the grace of God, we are going to start enforcing the curfew that is directed by the Inspector General of Police to start from 06:00 hours tomorrow till the end of the election process tomorrow. 2, we are going to shut down some places to avoid infiltrators coming into the state to come and perpetrate whatever evil they have in mind. We want to assure the general public, please feel free, go out, exercise your civic right. If there is any problem that you see, let us know.
The presidential and National Assembly elections hold on the 25th of February this year. Oluchi Amuda, Osbc News.
Governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, has called on people of the state to troop out peacefully to elect leaders of their choice at tomorrow's general elections. In a pre-election statement he personally signed, the governor described the election as a critical milestone in the national democratic development of Nigeria, in which all eligible citizens must actively participate to decide the future of the nation. The government had declared today a public holiday as he urged all eligible voters to get set for election tomorrow. According to Governor Adeleke, the electoral authorities have provided an enabling environment for the conduct of a free and fair election, while the security agencies have also mobilized to protect citizens as they exercise their constitutional rights. He implored lovers of democracy to sustain Osun as the most peaceful state in the country before, during, and after the election period. Stakeholders in Osun have charged eligible voters to be law-abiding and embrace the peace, while discharging their civic responsibility at tomorrow's poll. Those who spoke to Osbc News reporter Lolade Olu Ojegbeji advised residents of the state to conduct themselves peacefully before, during, and after the election.
In Nigeria, we should all come out and vote. Vote for the best candidate. Vote for the person who has been tested, not only be a governor, but who's actually in politics in Nigeria and who's widely recognized and make friends all over the nation. Because we are heterogeneous in character and in ethnicity.
Not do anything that would be anti-democratic, because we are all looking forward to this Saturday election, which is a watershed in the history of Nigeria. So everybody should be prepared to play his or her own part to achieve a hitch-free election.
Make sure that the people disappoint the masses, and they should play the game according to the rules. That's all.
Nigerians have charged all the presidential contenders in the country to go beyond the signing of the peace accord and ensure that they sensitize their supporters on the need to vote and not fight. Those who spoke in separate interviews with Osbc News against the backdrop of the signing of the second peace accord by presidential candidates admonished party supporters to eschew violence. Our reporter, Oluchi Amuda, now completes the story.
With few hours to the presidential and National Assembly elections in Nigeria, presidential candidates of the 18 political parties converged on the International Conference Center Abuja to sign the peace accord for the second time. The first one was signed in September last year, prior to the commencement of campaigns. The National Peace Committee, which organized the event, had often believed on the need for candidates to list their commitment to a peaceful conduct of the 2023 presidential election. Nigerians have, however, believed that candidates should go beyond the signing of peace accord and encourage their supporters to shun violence or all acts that could lead to violence. In their separate interviews with Osbc News, analysts including Comrade Michael Ebonfi and Mr. Bolarin Olabode spoke on the need for all candidates of the various political parties contesting in the election to caution their supporters not to engage in utterances that could fan the embers of discord and promote violence. Comrade Ebonfi and Mr. Olabode also charged security operatives to be on the lookout for social media handlers who often use their platforms to spread hate speech and make incisive statements that could disrupt the peace of the country.
Signing the accord, they have to tell their followers as well. Because when you have a good leader and the followers are bad, because even followers as well, they are the ones even leading to causing a lot of mayhem. Because it's not the leader that will even go and be carrying machetes and carrying guns and doing a lot of things. But we have to say, okay, by the time we as the leaders, as the contestants, we have signed peace accord, our chairman, our secretariat and the secretaries, a lot of them signing that into the document. They have to ensure that they discuss and tell and warn their followers to desist and not to give them bad names.
They expect that they go back home to inform their supporters that it is no longer business as usual, where you pick guns, pick machetes, and begin to kill people or begin to maim people. So, however, apart from telling the candidates themselves to go back to the supporters, even supporters should be able to know that there is going to be life after election. We are going to see ourselves after election. How will we be looking at ourselves if we have so destroyed our lives because of someone who might not even know our address?
They maintain that it is worthless for anyone to create enmity with neighbors, friends, and families because of any politician, adding that the need to enthrone good governance should be the interest of all. Oluchi Amuda, Osbc News.
We now go on a commercial break. The major report continues in a moment.
Hey, this kilo, how will I do this? 1,000. You go wash plate tire. Farabalẹ̀ now.
Madam, hello lówó wa.
Brother, na 3,005.
Màá fún yín ní owó pé káàdì Glo ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀rún 10,000.
Oh yeah.
Bring your phone.
Ah, 10,000.
These Glo people now, wow, 1,000 naira credit. Now it has gone to 10,000.
No. All of us don't know about Glo Berekete. Ní ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá nísìnyí.
Ṣé o ti gbọ́? Ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá ló máa gbà lórí iyekíye tó o bá rà sórí ohun ìpè Glo Berekete 10 times rẹ.
I told you. Now what go there?
Are you in senior secondary school? Do you have what it takes to be best? Introducing the ULesson National Academic Tournament. Represent your school and compete for a chance to take home the grand prize of 3 million naira plus other amazing prizes. To learn more or register for the challenge, visit ulesson.com/challenge. ULesson, love learning.
You're welcome back. The National Youth Service Corps has warned corps members against accepting financial and material inducement during tomorrow's presidential and National Assembly elections. The NYSC Director General, Brigadier General Ahmed, gave the warning while addressing the corps members during sensitization in Abuja, which was also held concurrently in all the states of the Federation. The DG of NYSC, who urged corps members to be part of history as good ambassadors of their institutions, families, and the NYSC, while assuring them of adequate security and improved welfare package. Ahmed also implored the corps members to abide by the electoral laws, adding that they were not immune from being prosecuted for electoral offences. With just few hours left for the presidential and National Assembly elections, and the public holiday declared by Osun State government to enable free movement of voters to voting areas, OSBC News crew went around town for the situation report. Oluwatobi Loba Odunuga is our guide.
Election period is always a defining moment in the history of any nation, Nigeria inclusive. The much-awaited 2023 general election is finally here, and all hands have been on deck towards ensuring the success of the poll. To this end, the critical stakeholders have been working around the clock to realize the conduct of free, fair, and credible election. They need to ensure that residents of Osun State fully participate in electing leaders of their choice. Governor Ademola Adeleke had few days ago declared a public holiday to enable voters go to various places they registered and vote. OSBC News crew visited some motor parks in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, and observed that the parks were devoid of the usual activities of people traveling to various destinations. Some of the park operators who spoke in separate interviews with OSBC News on the basis of anonymity lamented the low turnout of travelers, which they attributed to cash crunch issue bedeviling the country. They noted that some of those who visited the park had to go back because they were unable to make transfer through their bank applications as a result of poor network. OSBC News also visited some markets in the state capital with the expectation of catching people who would be engaged in last-minute shopping because of the election. The reverse was, however, the case, as sellers sat patiently in wait for customers who encountered difficulties in their quest for cashless transactions. Some of the sellers who spoke with OSBC News in camera complained bitterly that the network issues with the banks have severely affected their sales, just as they appealed to the central bank to either make cash available for the masses or direct the network providers to allow the cashless transaction to work. In the same vein, the news crew also observed that most of the automated teller machines in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, were without cash, as disappointments were boldly written on the faces of.
Has directed the full implementation of new visa reciprocity policy for citizens of the United States of America, referred from March 1, 2023. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, said the directive was issued following approval for the implementation of the new bilateral consular policy agreement between the governments. President Muhammadu Buhari launched the new Nigeria visa policy in 2020. He added that the policy, among other things, seeks to promote tourism and boost cultural exchange and business between both nations. According to a statement by his media advisor, Shola Fashure, agreements amongst others include the reciprocity of 5-year tourist visa validity for American citizens pursuant to Section 30 of the Immigration Act 2015, extension visa validity for 3 years for diplomats and government officials between the citizens of Nigeria and the United States of America. He added that the Ministry of Interior had directed the Immigration Service to start the implementation of the policy from March 1 this year. Now welcome to our sports segment. Spain's 2010 World Cup winner Sergio Ramos says he's retiring from international football with a heavy heart after being told he will not be paid by new boss Luis de la Fuente. Ramos made a record of 180 appearances for his country and won the World Cup in 2010 and European Championship in both 2008 and 2012. Omotayo Adebodo has the details of this and more from the world of sports.
Sergio Ramos has not played for Spain since March 2021 and was left out of the former coach Luis Enrique's World Cup squad. Ramos said he came to the decision after having a telephone conversation with De La Fuente, who took over from Enrique after Spain were knocked out of the World Cup by Morocco in the last 16. A 2010 World Cup winner and back-to-back European champion with Spain, Ramos made his international debut at the age of 18 in 2005. However, he has not played for his nation since coming on as a late substitute in a 3-1 win over Kosovo in the World Cup qualifiers 2 years ago. In the meantime, Newcastle United midfielder Miguel Almiron has signed a new 3.5-year contract at the club. The Paraguay international, who is 29 years, joined from MLS side Atalanta United in January 2019 and has made over 150 appearances in all competitions. He is Magpies' leading goal scorer with 10 goals in 23 Premier League games this season. Almiron, who won the Premier League Player of the Month and Goal of the Month award for October, was contracted until June 2024. The Magpies, who haven't lifted the trophy since 1969, face Manchester United in the Carabao Cup finals at Wembley on Sunday. In another development, Ruben Selles has been appointed Southampton manager until the end of the season. The Premier League bottom club sacked Nathan Jones after just 95 days in charge earlier this month, having dismissed Ralph Ancelotti in November. Selles' appointment comes after talks with former Leeds United manager Jose March broke down. The Saints defeated Chelsea last Saturday in Spinach. Selles won game as interim manager after Jones' sacking. Selles, who has coaching experience in Greece, Azerbaijan and Denmark, backs that up by helping his struggling side and only their second league win since October. He had been a first-team coach at Southampton under both Ancelotti and Jones. His first match as a permanent manager is a significant meeting with their fight for survivor as they travel to Elland Road to play second bottom Leeds United tomorrow. Omotayo Adebodun, Osbc News.
The tiny horn of Africa nation of Djibouti is voted in parliamentary elections today that have been boycotted by the main opposition parties who have branded the polls as sham. Details of this and other reports across the globe are packaged by Abdul Jalil at BBC of our foreign desk.
Only two parties contested seats in the 65-member National Assembly where President Ismail Umar Guelleh, ruling Union for the presidential majority, is the candidate. Despite its diminutive size, Djibouti enjoys a strategic crucial position at the mouth of the Red Sea, using it to woo trade, investors and foreign military powers. The opposition charges that the poll, which follows a presidential ballot in April 2022 that saw Guelleh, aged 75, has ruled Djibouti since 1999, re-elected for a fifth term with 97% of the vote, will not be free and fair. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for reform of global lender such as the World Bank as G20 finance ministers and central bank heads met. The talks in Bengaluru focus on the continued damaging effects of the COVID pandemic and the Ukraine war, as well as debt relief for poorer nations reeling from its food and fuel prices. Modi said trust in international financial institutions has eroded, saying this is partly because they have been slow to reform themselves, urging for collective work to strengthen multilateral development banks for meeting global challenges like climate change and high debt level. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced the nomination of former MasterCard Chief Executive Ajay Banga as a candidate to lead the World Bank. After the development lender's current head announced plans to step down, the World Bank has just started accepting candidate nominations in a process set to run until March 29, with the bank saying that women contenders will be strongly encouraged. The president of the Washington-based bank is typically American, while the leader of the International Monetary Fund is customarily European. Banga, who is Indian American, was previously chief executive at MasterCard. Abdul Jalil at BBC OSBC News.
To end the major report on OSBC, here again are the main points. Federal government has directed closure of national borders. Interior Minister Ralph Arabashola says it is to protect the sanctity of the election. INEC has urged Nigerians without the PVC to stay away from polling units tomorrow. Governor Ademola Adeleke has directed eligible voters to conduct themselves peacefully at polls. And on the foreign scene, we brought you a report that opposition party in Djibouti boycotted the parliamentary election held today in that country. That was the major report on OSBC TV. Thank you for being there. It was edited by Michael Adeni. Babatunde Bolatito is my name. Good night.